IVM.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
Good morning, because it's morning when we're recording. How are you, Ayushi?
It is a Monday morning.
Beautiful day.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start the week, I'm not going to lie. I don't know when anyone is listening to this, but we started our week with the show. So
and wherever and whenever you're listening to this, I hope the next 45 minutes to 1 hour entertains you and interests you, and you have a great week, day, and whatever after that.
Maybe it'll inspire you. Maybe it'll... I have a lack of words right now.
Shocking, but Ayushi had a bit of an electricity glitch this morning, and I was so nervous, thinking कि अभी तो record नहीं होगा तो मैं क्या करूँगी? I've already eaten breakfast. I was like, now if I hadn't eaten breakfast, I would have done yoga. I went into a very big what do I do with my life now? Because I'm also stuck in a foreign city all by myself.
Okay, you had this little bit of meltdown. Let me explain what my tech glitch was this morning.
Yes.
The entire electricity in the neighborhood has gone.
Yes.
So I was panicking more about my fridge and what's in my fridge.
And she's like, we'll do tomorrow. I was like,
because I didn't know when it was meant to come back. But anyway, miracle of miracles, and electricity has returned. We're able to record. Tash, how have you been in the less than 48 hours since I last spoke to you while we recorded our last episode?
And yesterday when I met you, when you came to see me off as I left for my travels,
I've been... We meet too much.
We do, but I don't complain. I don't think it's
not
too much.
Not at all. I think it's less.
Yeah, no, less to nahi hai. Matlab appropriate amount hai ye.
No.
But on that note, yesterday, I mean, now that whenever you hear this, being Mental Health Awareness Day recently, I think it's important for us to maybe do a mental health check-in, Ayushi.
Yes.
Where are you at? Where am I at? Let's chat about that. Okay, so I've been up and down, but honestly can't predict what day is going to bring what. And yesterday I was particularly down. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but before you left my house, I gave you a very, very, very tight hug. And I just didn't want to let go because I didn't want to let anybody go. Yeah, my heart was really racing and I was feeling very anxious to take this trip by myself. I think it's the fear or whatever uncertainty that comes with solo travel, that extra alertness that you need to have. Even when I reached, I've just been like kind of on edge, not feeling 100% safe, secure, and reminding myself constantly.
Which is unusual for you because you've done a lot of solo travel in your life.
Not a lot.
But in the recent past, like you're capable of moving around by yourself. Your work takes you to a lot of places as well. So
correct.
you're not
a stranger to this.
To this. I think it's also combined with a lot of COVID because we just haven't been moving around so much. We've become so dependent on the little communities that we've created around ourselves that it feels a little daunting to step outside of that for an extended period of time.
The airport was so crowded. I felt genuinely overwhelmed by looking at the number of people that were there.
Yeah, the picture you gave me was like
horror. And but the thing is now, in a moment to acknowledge my own growth and kind of, I don't know, evolution, I suppose. Old me would have probably started shouting at everybody in the line in front of me, behind me, the security, the airport staff, everybody. But yesterday's me was just tripping, enjoying, amused, laughing, smiling, just saying thank you to the airport security officials, being like, how are you all managing? Aap log matlab kaise deal kar rahe ho? Itna mela laga hua hai yahan. So it was a happy, joking kind of way. I got through that. And I was like, okay, this is another default, which I think I should live by. Instead of going to anger or frustration straight away, why don't I navigate from this place of, this is a joke?
Because most of life is actually just, is this a joke? It's just you looking around being like, we're all in on it, right? This is a joke that we're all in on. I get it. Yeah. It's funny. But it's not. But that's good.
That's where
your head's at. recently.
Yeah, it's like not amazing, it's not terrible, but constantly, I think the adult part of it is kid, you have to remind yourself to come back to your center and just theek hai. Nothing's permanent.
Yeah. That's kind of, not to just steal your thing or jump on your bandwagon, but you know this, that's kind of been where I've been at as well, in terms of once you found what your center is, what your stable point is, kind of just hold on to that. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of things recently that have been in flux for me. And as everyone who listens to the show regularly would know, I kind of took a holiday for 2 weeks after like years on that situation, you know, because of COVID and everything. And then coming back to that, I was very thrown off by how real life is. Because I switched off so hard in those like 10 days that I was not working, that real life was like, oh shit, there's so much that you have to deal with. And that actually caused me to have a little bit of a mental health snafu in the middle, where I became very wobbly.
Wobbly is the word Ayushi and I like to use. Sometimes we message each other also.
Just
How are you feeling?
a bit
Wobbly.
wobbly. Like, you know, like that little Russian doll that teeters like this, and you're like, I'm not going to fall over because I've built up that strength of the shape to not tip over completely. But the wobbling is the oscillation radius is what's concerning to me.
Yeah.
That is what's concerning. So had a bit of that, but I've been telling myself this little mantra, which you guys are probably sick of hearing because I've said it to you all twice individually, is just not to overreact, not to underreact, but just to respond. So sometimes I think all of us, human nature, like you said, when you're standing in that line, the default is to react angrily, is to get pissed off and say, the system has broken down. Why is this? I hate everyone. But the actual thing, the adult decision is to look around and be like, okay, the actual response to this should be patience, because nothing will come from me getting angry. There are 100 people here. What am I going to change in this situation? So mental health has improved over the last week, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely every day is a task in making sure that you stay true to your center and what is your stable point, what is your joy point. But, and I don't want to sound too like pushy or kind of, you know, make people feel that they should only think in this way. But I've been actively trying to find like joy in micro interactions and like small bits of joy that enter your day, because that's actually acts of God, acts of faith, acts of a higher power, whatever you believe in. Like they're just reminders from the universe that your life is more than just this challenge that you might think you're facing right now. It's like a culmination of so many small little good things that happen. Like you press the lift button at that exact time that it opened immediately in front of you and you didn't have to get into a crowded lift. That in itself is that's a micro joy. Like you open, you know, your tiffin box and it's like, hey, this pickle today. I'm so excited. I forgot that I packed the pickle. I mean, that's a micro joy. And it might sound reductive. It might sound silly, but it's not. That's literally sometimes the smallest little signs from the universe are all you need to make sure that you're going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, but for people who aren't able to get to this space in a self-actualized or self-activated way, there is no harm in talking to anyone around you that you think
there
you
is
feel
no
safe
harm,
around.
No, there is benefit and only benefit. Let me just say you.
I think most people have someone in their life that they feel safe and secure and comfortable around. Start there. Start that conversation there. And if you feel that you need something more, you need something even a little bit less biased, try to reach out to a mental health professional. There's hordes and hordes of people that have put up a lot of lists about affordable healthcare in cities that you might not think that there is a support system. It exists. It needs a little bit of legwork to find it. And I think Tash will try to put up some posts to, you know, guide people in a direction at least. But
yeah, sure.
There is only benefit to be gained from talking about where your head is at.
I agree wholeheartedly. But today's episode has got me super excited because I have been waiting since Friday to record it today on a Monday.
Yes.
So without any further ado, let me bring on board today's very, 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 very infinitely special guest, Miss Ananya Mehta. Aye.
Hey guys.
Anan, welcome.
Welcome to the show, ma'am.
How are y'all?
Good morning, first of all.
Good morning.
You have heard how we are mentally already.
And she's heard it since Friday.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, we have like daily updates, I think, or at least weekly updates
Weekly
on each
updates
other's mental health.
is a minimum. Weekly updates
Yeah.
is a minimum.
Yeah.
Recently, we've all been doing daily updates of like, guys, it's
This
not
is
going.
happening.
It's not going well.
Yeah.
क्योंकि and these times especially I've realized कि friends का support तो और ज़्यादा चाहिए. I'm like I need to
Yeah,
get
how do
these
you-
girls. Yeah.
How do you survive without at least just two people, two
Yeah.
really good friends that you can just connect with and be completely yourself with? How do you survive that?
So to give you guys a little
That's
bit
what
of
we're going to
context,
discuss. How do you
we're-
survive? Yeah.
but we're going to give you a little context as to who and how these three people have come together. So all three of us went to school together. We're part of the same group of BFFs, and it is a joy to have someone like Nan on the show because she is not only one of our closest friends, she's someone that I've known actually even like I think since we were 6-7 years old. We've been classmates and friends. And then, of course, the last 10 years have just been a upward tick in the friendship curve. But Nan is a ex-fashion stylist, present-day entrepreneur, small business owner, co-founder of the most amazing health food company in terms of nut butters, seed crackers, health food products called Urban
Trail
Mom.
mixes,
Trail
yeah.
Mixes, Urban Mom, that she and her mother co-founded a couple years ago and is now going strong, sticky, and so sweet.
Oh, thank you. What a cute little introduction.
That was
I-
off the
Only
top of my
Ayushi
head.
could. Yeah.
Yeah,
Only Ayushi.
really. It's like her minutes of the meeting.
Hey, we can't tell everyone about minutes of the meeting.
No,
but
no. I think I should so
No,
that
but
other groups also start doing it.
you should actually. But we'll circle back to that when we talk
Yeah.
about our relationship together.
Friendship.
Yes, but that's why we had Nan on because it's just been so amazing to see her journey as a person from, first of all, switching industries in your mid 20s, starting something from ground up in an industry that you might not have any experience in.
With a family member.
With a
Oh,
family
God.
member.
Yeah.
And not only going through that, but somehow like getting over the learning curve, the teething phase, and then coming to a point where there is now actual business stability, there is growth, there is scalability that you're looking at. And you've done this, you started from the four corners of like your bedroom. And now you guys have, you have your products in like the top gourmet stores. You have them online on all the platforms. You have your own delivery network. It has just been like with every Diwali hamper that you did, with every, bag of goodies that we got, like the new product testing, just seeing that journey through it. Can you just tell us, just to get this part out of the way, but can you tell us a little bit about what the journey of Urban Mom and you, specifically you, has been?
After college, basically.
Yeah, you
Work
after
life,
college.
Professional
So-
adult life.
Honestly, after college, I tried my hand at a lot of different things because after college, I was like, I'm still not 100% sure about what I want to do. I wanted to do something in fashion, but I was like, okay, let me try a couple of things. Let me figure it out. And then I did a bunch of like internships. I actually did a sales job, like as a salesperson at a fashion store,
Yeah.
which was completely like not what I would have ever thought I would do. But it was such a great learning experience because and that's actually where I realized that I wanted to style. I initially thought that, okay, I want to do like merchandising or something else anyway. And then I got into styling. I worked at like a couple of fashion magazines for like 4 years. And then I realized that I just wanted to break. I didn't even think that I would like work on Urban Mom or anything. I just wanted like a couple of months. I was like, okay, let me like freelance. Let me just do my own thing for a little bit.
Because you were
Yeah.
put through the paces at those magazines. Like, people have this idea of what fashion
it's a
is and it's a glamorous
life.
job.
No.
Can you, you
Bust
did not,
that myth.
please bust
it.
that myth.
Oh
Because
my
we don't have
God.
people from that industry talk to us.
Oh my God. Okay. So my first job, which was at the Juice magazine, which was a very, very small magazine by Jabong. So that was the best job I've ever had, probably. Like in terms of growth, I started off as like a very, very small digital stylist where I only had to do like Instagram shoots for Jabong and stuff like that. And then in the span of like 1.5 years, I became like a stylist for the magazine as well as the online blog as well as like the digital platform. So I was doing
That's
all
so
three
exciting.
in like 1.5 years, which is insanely like quick for anyone, I think.
Right.
And it's also because I was very actively like taking on more work than I could. And you have to do that, I think, initially in any job, because you're like,
Show
you just,
initiative.
yeah. And you want to also just you want to take in that entire experience, and you don't want to just like do the one job that you've been assigned to do. Like, you want to learn more. You want to maybe try out a different thing, put yourself out of your comfort zone of just doing digital shoots and do like print shoots, write a couple of stories. Like, I've written a couple of stories that I never thought I would.
Yeah.
Ever.
Amazing.
Because like I've never written for anything, and to like see yourself get published on a platform,
It's such a high.
Oh my God, it's such a high. Like, I can't, it's such a proud moment for yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That happens. And so it also just set a really good, it set a really high standard for all the rest of my jobs, because I was like, after this, now what am I going to do? Like, if someone
This is
treats
how
me
it must
badly-
be. But did you think that this was how the world would be? Like, because your first job had been so incredible.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, working is not that bad. It's great. It's amazing.
I love being an adult.
Yeah, bosses are great. Like, oh, the team is so great. We used to play mini golf, like, to like de-stress on like stressful days. So I was like, oh wow, like this is so like forward and like off center and like great,
I love
And
it.
then little did I know that what like everything that had to come after that was hell.
Hell.
And anyway, I'm not gonna like name anything.
No.
or
Obviously,
any
we
of
don't
that
expect
because,
that because we don't know who in the future, hopefully, our sponsors will be.
Yeah. But no, but the working culture and how it was later on was not great, I'm guessing.
No, so after that, I actually landed a really good, like probably one of my dream jobs at a really good fashion magazine. And it was so different. It was like I had taken 10 steps back in my career, where I was doing like the work of an intern. There was there was absolutely no growth, and there was just, I couldn't even take initiative. I couldn't take any initiative because there was no work for me to do. That was like, worth putting my energy into. And the work culture was horrible. And everyone thinks that, oh, fashion is so glamorous. And like, you go to events, you go to parties, you do this, you do that. Everyone thinks that, but no one sees the back end of things, where you have to be at work till 11 p.m. and your boss at 11 p.m. is still telling you, oh, why are you going home? It's only 11. I'm sorry. Like,
this is now 14 hours. This is a 14-hour day.
Are you telling me at 11 p.m. I can't go home after and half of my day has not even been productive because I'm sending out couriers, or I'm doing this or doing a lot of manual labor, which I understand comes with the job. But it's maybe not like after a couple of years into your career, you're like, okay, now, I want to grow out of this.
Want to be doing more challenging, interesting work than.
So when you needed to take that break, like after about 4+ years of working in this industry, obviously this is all the stuff that led you to being like, not only do I need a break from work, I need a break from this sector, because this is like draining it out of me. And I remember you saying vaguely, this no longer brings me the happiness that it brought me when I got into it. And that's what actually I think is something that's very interesting, because you took that call. And that's like...
Which is one of the hardest things to do, actually, to take that decision.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think the hardest thing was not to actually take that break. So I was like, okay, I'll take a couple of months off and then just see where it goes. And, let me try my hand out. Honestly, it all started with like my mom was anyway making these nut butters at home, because it was just something that she really liked, and she wanted to eat almond butter and cashew butter and stuff like that. And you couldn't get it in India at that point, because there was nobody else really making those those nut butters. Like you could
Yeah,
get peanut butter, but
Yeah.
apart
That's
from that,
true.
there was nothing else.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll just like try my hand out. Let me help her set it up. Just like get like an online presence, get all of that. And then it just started from there, and I got really involved. And then I was like, yes, this is going somewhere. And the hardest call from there was when I got offered another job at another magazine in between all of this. And it was a really tough place to be at, because obviously I did want to like get back into fashion, but I also really wanted to see this through. And I knew that I couldn't do both. There's no way. Like
No.
at
Then
that point,
how did you decide at that point?
I just gave myself 2 days. I was like, let me just shut off completely and just let myself think and put like a pros and cons list down of both jobs and both. And I was like, maybe I could like freelance for a bit and then get back into styling. And then, so I'm not completely cut off from fashion. So if I eventually want to get back and take this job, I'll be able to. But honestly, it was a very clear decision. After those 2 days, I was like, you know what, I have to see this through. Like I've started it. It's already got to a place where it's kind of growing. It's challenging me a lot more than what fashion did, because I think fashion came a lot easier to me. Like, it's like I can go to work and I know exactly what to do. I can do it blindly on some days. So it's not.
And you have a very good eye. So there's a natural instinct that came to you with that work. Whereas this was like you were learning a new industry.
Figuring, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like scary as hell. Like, I don't think anyone tells you that part of it.
Dar ke aage jeet hai. And now see, you are a winner.
But this thing that you said, if nobody tells you about this, so like, we talk about a lot on the show that, listen, young adults, if you want to switch and you want to do something else, go for it. And I still stand by that. But I think this is also interesting to let people know that it's not all sunshine and butterflies. Like you made a massive industry switch. And I know I keep calling it industry, but it is, because you went from fashion to like food, and then you went to health food. Actually, if you go into see it, you've not just gone into like food, you've gone into a very specific market space where that's still growing. Awareness is still nascent. It's very tier 1, tier 2 city at best. Like that's a whole other range of challenges that you have. So how did you obviously knew that, look, I don't know shit about this stuff. So I'm actually going to have to study it, like not study like in a formal way, but learn so much from scratch. That did you realize that that's going to be a thing as well for you?
Oh, that was really hard, obviously, because it's very difficult to you don't even gauge that it's going to be this difficult, because you're thrown into the deep from day one. Like the minute you start something new, whatever it is, even actually if you're doing it within the industry that you've been in, like for example, within fashion, just having a job and then working as a freelancer, it's very different already. Like there's a lot of effort that you need to put in. There's a lot you need to learn in terms of how do I put myself out there? How do I promote myself? It becomes a business, because you're in charge of your own revenue. You're in charge of your own PR, marketing,
your hours,
your reputation, exactly, your hours, the amount of effort you put in. It's all up to you. So there's a huge amount of self-motivation that comes with this. And you have to be someone who's kind of ready to put in that work, at least in that initial phase where you're still learning a lot of very basic things that you didn't even know. Like working in fashion, obviously I don't have like a business degree. So starting like my own business was something that I never even thought I would do, honestly. Like this was completely off. Like I always thought I would be like a fashion person for the rest of my life. I never
thought that.
And then
same. For us also, when you were like kind of switching in that time period, we were also a bit like, what's happening?
Yeah,
and it wasn't anything to do with fashion, styling. It wasn't even anything to do with aesthetics. like, you could maybe understand like, oh, if you went into interiors or you went into maybe like social media or like that kind of, you were like, I'm going to start this stuff. And we were like your little test bunnies. We tried everything. We're like, no, the product is good, but are you ready for this thing to be like a company? Like, are you going to start a company? And that too with your mom? That was a whole other thing that you were.
Oh my God. Yeah, for sure. I think, I also think there was so much self-doubt in me at that point. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And I think now looking back at those years, I just wish the one thing I could have changed is I just wish I had more belief in myself, because obviously nobody else is going to believe in you because everyone's going to think you're whack. Like, why are you leaving such a great job at the peak of your career to do something that you don't even know what the future is going to be?
Yeah.
And at that point, nobody even knew about nut butters. I used to go for these pop-ups and I used to tell people, oh, do you want to try nut butters? And they thought that it was butter, like dairy butter. Like
with the flavor of nut.
I didn't really understand what they were also saying. They didn't understand what I was saying. So it was a very like two-way stream of confusion. So after all of that is when I realized that, crap, there's a big amount of education that needs to happen on the part of the consumer, as in I need to educate the consumer a lot about my products. And that also took a while because I was educating myself. And then in this, I have to educate them. And it's just a really hard journey to like sort of be part of, at least in the beginning, where you've been in like your comfort zone for so long, where you're really good at something and you've gotten a lot of appreciation for that. And like in fashion, I knew I was good at my job. Here, to feel like you're not good enough every day, like it's just a constant thing for the first 1 year of like starting your own business, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's a constant feeling of just feeling not good enough. Like it's...
How do you deal with that feeling of not feeling good enough, not being good enough, that lack of self-belief, that doubt that keeps creeping in, no matter how hard you're working, no matter the best you're doing?
I think it's a choice that you need to make every day, that you have to maybe put aside those emotions, those feelings of not being like
inadequacy.
Good enough. Yeah. And also what I used to do in the beginning is I love making lists and I just work very like methodically or whatever in that sense where, and then I look back at the end of the day, whenever I'm feeling a bit down, I'm like, have I done enough? Like, is this enough? And then you look back at everything that you've done, like, because it's all there in front of you. Like you know that, okay, I've completed certain tasks. I've completed a certain amount of work and I've grown in
it's 12 hours also. Like in this 12 hours, I have gotten to the next, like if this is a journey, I've taken like X amount of steps forward.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that I even do now as like 4 years into this business. I think there are days where I feel very, very not good enough, or like I doubt myself. Am I doing enough? Is this where I want to be? Where is this going, or whatever? But then you kind of you have to just train yourself, and you have to be there for yourself, because nobody else is going to really be there for you.
That's so true.
Yeah.
In this situation. So you just kind of learn how to like deal with those emotions yourself and move past it, I guess.
Lovely.
That's a great thought. And let's hold on to that while we take a small little kutu break, and we will be right back.
Hello, everybody. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcasting Network. On Know Your Kanun, Amber talks to Anshula Kapoor about her social celebrity charity Fankind, the ideology of the charity, and the various regulations behind this concept. On 30 Minute Rasta with Keshav, meet 3 of the most breathtaking gompas that are situated near Leh. On Shunyavans, Shilita and I talk to Giridhar Yasa, Chief Technology Officer at Lending Card. On Say No to Drama, Chetna unravels the law of attraction and the spirituality surrounding it. And on the Life Manifesto, Zarina explains what it takes to be courageous with an interesting Spartan ideology from ancient history. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show, or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. We appreciate the word of mouth. And finally, we'd like to thank the sponsors on our network this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda Quarter, CoinSwitch Kuber, Slay Coffee, Intel, and Kotak Mahindra Bank. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back. We are in conversation with our bestie Ananya Mehta, who happens to be an amazing entrepreneur, overall ace adult.
I love the word entrepreneur. You can slap that in front of any person, be like, yeah, I'm actually an entrepreneur. It's like, it's such a fancy word. But it's a fancy word that disguises a lot of dirt and hard work and scumminess and climbing that ladder and being a little like scrappy. And I know these sound like very negative words, but it's not. I think like being an entrepreneur is a lot more, it's less glam than glam. You only see that Forbes 30 under 30 is like the shiny part of it. Everything behind that is just like shit. The garbage that you've had to work through to get to that shiny place is so much. And the amount of like commentary, inputs, advice, all the stuff that you keep getting externally, internally, because everyone feels free to comment on your journey.
So this is our culture. We love to give free advice.
Right. So in that respect, like how do you deal on that road of like, there's so much external stimuli.
The chatter, the noise around you also.
Oh my God. It is the favorite. It's like everyone's favorite thing to do. That's like one thing I've actually realized after I started this company. Every family dinner I go to, every time I meet friends, every time I meet random people, it's like I'm meeting new people and they'll be like, oh, how's work going? What do you do? What do you do? What are you doing now? And I'll tell them about what I'm doing and I'll tell them about what I'm currently also doing in terms of on a more daily, weekly basis.
Yeah.
And
everyone's first reaction is, you should do this. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you?
One slap I'll give them.
Why don't you connect with this person? Why don't you connect with that person? I'm just like, yes. And 90% of the times I'm like, great, I will listen to it because I'm like, maybe from all of
you never know what
of value.
Yeah, exactly. But the other 10%, I'm just like, please shut up. Just please shut up. Like, who has asked you for your advice or your opinion or anything? After a point, I'm just like, I've also had a long, hard day at work. I just want to get out. Maybe have a drink.
Come for this.
Just, at a party, in the middle of a party, someone's giving me advice. I can't even hear them. But still, you want to give me your advice in the middle of like a setting that is so not
conducive for this. Yeah. But I think when this used to happen before to me also, I would be like engaging with this person. Now I'm at a place where I'm like, yeah, you're right. Thanks. Peace.
Yeah, that's a great way to actually do it because
I guess
why to engage?
I have a 1% leg up here with you guys in terms of luck because the industry that I work in terms of my day job, commodities and all of that stuff is so left field for most of the people in our social circles that I don't get a lot of commentary.
Yeah.
I just get a lot of like, I get a lot of assumptions based on what you post on social media. They're like, oh, you obviously work in shipping. And I'm like, no, but it's cool. I don't have the time or brain space to explain to you, like whatever. So no one comments on my job, but the amount of people that make and ask questions about the podcast quite often is like, so is this like your full time? Like, so do you all do this? You guys should get this person as a guest. He's like really cool. I'm like, you want to set it up? You want to, because the people that you're naming is now I'll also name anyone then. Nah? Means
Dev Patel, we need Dev Patel on the podcast. Are you listening, IVM?
Somebody told me that day, like, you guys should get like some like celebrity kind of people also because it'll take it to the next level. You know why? Because when they post, other people will see. I was like, are you explaining the concept of advertising to me right now? Like, do you think I don't know?
Are you saying that Ritasha is not a celebrity right now? I'm sorry, that's all I'm hearing.
I was just like sitting in this conversation like, no, I know how Instagram works. Like,
yeah,
I get it. This is such, but I get what you mean about when you are working in an open space and when you're working specifically because you want to be an engaging person. And the other sort of drawback I feel is you can't be rude. You can't be an ass because that carries with your brand, that carries with your show, that carries with what people associate with you. So you have no choice but to stand there and be like, Absolutely. That's a fantastic idea. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to think about it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everyone secretly kind of in them wants to start their own company. So when someone else starts it, this is the best time to get that sort of out of you.
Badass out of you, yeah.
You should do that. Like
But that's
if
a really
I was
cool
running my
observation.
company, I would do this.
Then
Like-
run it.
Exactly. Please, by all means, come.
In terms of like, okay, so you have this journey, you're doing it on your own. There are times when being a founder, it can be a little lonely. Like even like say sometimes Tash's profession, because you're a one-man show, you're a one-man operation. I know that there are times when you guys feel a bit down, a bit lost, like a bit isolated. Like when she's on set sometimes and things aren't going well, and she's like, I just feel like I am the only person right now fighting for myself. Like I'm the only person speaking up for myself. When you go into meetings with like vendors and people who stock your product, and you're like, I am having to fight for myself to be like, no, I am this good and I deserve this. Like, that conflict between what you think you deserve and what the world or people around you think you deserve, like that. And as an adult, we're still in our 20s. So there's a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. Like, why should I get spoken down to? Like, I'm not that young also. Like, you have that defense mechanism that sometimes sets
with
in.
6-7 years
Yeah,
of a
of course.
professional life behind you, of course, now
Yeah.
you feel you've done a reasonable amount of work.
Exactly. And how do you deal with that kind of negative feedback or negative sort of the loop, when the loop of communication is negative, when it's causing you a little
Upset.
rejection or dejection, like that kind of thing? How do you deal with that? And what is a community that you find yourself relying on the most?
I definitely think friends are a huge part of just
So how I created that segue to come back to us. No,
Also
but
because-
I do mean that genuinely though as a question. Yeah.
also because I work with my family, as in I work with my mom. So there's
Yeah.
no like, going back and complaining to her, because
Yeah.
then we just be complaining to each
Complaining
other
to
about the
each
same
other.
problem, which is not helpful.
No, I
Like-
feel that as well, because family business is very similar in that respect. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think definitely reaching out to friends, just having a space where you can pull yourself out of this, even if it's temporarily, just have a different space, different energy, different environment.
Yeah.
So maybe just honestly just not think about this at all for a little bit, like the whole rejection bit and the whole. There are a lot of times where you obviously reach out to people for like different collaborations, different like
Anything. Cold calling
yeah.
also at the end of the day. Everything.
Exactly. You're working on a particular order or like, that you've been really hoping for and it doesn't work out. It falls through. It's tough. It's not easy. I mean, you obviously do feel a bit shitty at the end of it. You put in a lot of work into it. But I think at the end of it, you also kind of realize that there is a lot more to look forward to. And also it drives you a little hard. It makes you drive a little faster, harder to just get to that stage where you can get over these hurdles. Like if it's a hurdle with a particular vendor, or if it's a hurdle with one particular production issue, for example, you can work much harder to like overcome those things when you've sort of faced a little bit of rejection in the beginning. It's kind of helpful sometimes if you look at it.
Rejection helps build character.
No, of course it does.
also.
That's the only thing you can
Yeah.
tell yourself. Otherwise, what else are you going to make out of it?
These are all things we tell ourselves to pacify ourselves.
But guys, I think a lot of what we've been even talking about in the last 5-6 days with each one of our own journeys has been a lot about it's so much about what you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think there's 3 things to this. First is, if you say something enough, you start believing it. And that is also detrimental, because sometimes when you start lying to yourself, is a slippery slope. I don't advocate that. But when you're trying to help yourself get out of a ditch, I think if you keep telling yourself that you can do this, you got this, you got this, you got this, eventually you little bit got this. I think then the second thing is also the minute you start talking out loud into positives, it's a lot about manifesting that energy. Like you've put it out into the universe. And whether you believe in this tactic or not, I know Tash is a huge propagator of it, which is where I've picked it up from, is that when you put it out there, eventually that energy kind of circles back to you. So there's there's only gain if you put a positive energy out there.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, like, when you tell yourself something enough, at some level, you are preparing yourself to be this person. Not just in a trickery way that is like the point A, but the point like C is that you have set yourself up to be like, no, this is the expectation I now have of myself as an adult, that this stuff should not faze me, and it will not faze me, because we have been able to achieve level 5. So now only levels 6, 7, and 8 can make me upset till I get to level 9, which is then everything below 9 cannot faze me. I just have to walk through it.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of that adulthood journey. So I don't think there's anything wrong with just constantly telling yourself, you got this. You got this.
Absolutely. Because I feel there's no better way. Yeah.
Because I haven't found a better way yet.
Yeah, neither. I mean, honestly, coming back to the loneliness bit that you were talking about, as like someone who's just running a lot of it by yourself, I think when it comes to like the highs and like the happiness, it's shared by the entire team. It's like a team effort that has really like got you here, and it's something that everyone is really happy about and shared. But when it comes to the lows and like the failures, it's the burden is on you. You do end up feeling like it's me. It's only me. I am only responsible for this. It's not a team effort then, which is kind of, it sucks, but it is the truth of it. I mean, that does end up happening.
Comes with the area of being an entrepreneur, right? Where you have put your name on the line. You've put yourself out there to be like, no, this is me. So you're not it's not like you're working for a company which is the face of the error. The face of the error is you. So that is lonely, and it's very isolating also, because you know you have, I mean, there's a tendency, human nature, to step back into a shell and be like, no, I can't do it. Like I failed, I f***ed up.
Oh yeah, I've had many meltdowns over the years of just being like,
what are your 20s without some regular meltdowns? I feel like 20s are synonymous.
Do you think that we're going to stop having meltdowns the minute we hit our 30s?
No, but they'll be slightly evolved, I think. Yeah, you know, there'll be that level 9 meltdown where 6, 7, 8 are not phasing you, but 9 suddenly has. So the meltdown might be of a different nature, but it'll be there.
It will be there, 100%.
Yeah, because I don't foresee myself not having any.
No.
That's not possible.
Yeah, I need to have small, regular meltdowns to prevent that one major one where I'm like losing my mind.
Tell us about mental health and emotional well-being, and Anand, your whole thing about taking care of yourself. How's that journey been for you as an adult?
It's been a journey. That's all I can say. It's just, it's been difficult. I mean, I think like this whole concept of balancing a professional and personal life.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of pressure to do that. Like you have to be amazing at both, you know, like you have to constantly be amazing at both. It's not like one or the other. And as much as I kind of agree with that, okay, fine, you can balance it out and you prioritize one over the other at certain times. But I think for me, there were a couple of years in between where I had a really rough time in one aspect, maybe either in my personal life or my professional life, and the other one has to take a back seat at that time in order to really focus on yourself and figure out how to get yourself out of that, because otherwise you're just sort of floating by without, you know,
addressing anything.
Yeah, and you're just sort of, you're not giving yourself enough love and like credit for getting to where you are right now, and also to move forward, right? I think you need to give yourself enough love for you to move forward from whatever difficulty you're in.
Yeah,
and you need to accept that, and you need to know that, okay, this is happening to me, and you need to like take a step back from whatever you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's like a personal situation. You have to take a step back, put yourself out of that situation, and then just be like, it's okay to be in this space right now, but the end goal is to like move forward. And how do I get out of this? And like, if it's time away from a certain situation, then that's what you got to do, and that's what you will do at the end of it. It's not like you won't do that. But for me, I think when I just started Urban Mom, like the first 1 year was great, the first 1.5 years was great, and then like, I think there was a lot going on in my personal life at that point, and I was like, I have to like take a step back, not from Urban Mom, but like just obviously do as much as I can for it. But my personal life did take a priority. Was a priority to me at that point, and focusing on myself and focusing on how to get out of that situation and just heal from it.
Yeah.
So as much as people say that, oh, like entrepreneurship is just about like giving your work, making your work your life and all of that, it's kind of not. Also, you need to take care of yourself. You can't just keep giving your work 100% every day thinking that like that's all that matters. It's not. You won't even be able to give work the amount you should if you're not like okay with yourself, if you're not like at your best in terms of.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's taken for granted that also giving your 100% to anything requires you to be at 100% of happiness, effort, energy, security, safety. And at which given point in your life have you ever been 100% at these 5 or 6 things?
Never.
Yeah.
So giving your work also 100% is such an unrealistic expectation that we or society or like you've been sort of like, trained into thinking. It's been like hardwired into us. So what you're saying, the thing of giving yourself that love to push you through a hurdle is also so important, because unless you believe in yourself or unless you feel that you can do it, or unless you can even apologize to yourself that, okay, we made a F up, but we can move past, we can learn from this and take it forward. How else are you going to give yourself even 80% at work?
Yeah, you can't. It's kind
you
of
can't pour
impossible.
from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
And I think we spend so much time pouring ourselves into other people's cups sometimes that you forget that the cup is for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, it
Yeah,
does.
it's tough.
Yeah. And adulthood, I don't think people talk about. I mean, of course, we talk about it a lot, but it is sometimes it's lonely days, man. Like it's lonely days, and you can be surrounded by people that love you, care about you, support you. But sometimes in your mind, you feel isolated, you feel lonely, you feel like it's just you against the whole world. And whether that's like rooted in reality or rooted in delusion, it's irrelevant because it's what you feel.
Exactly.
And that's the only thing that matters at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also when something goes wrong in like your personal life as an entrepreneur, starting in just those like formative years of a business, you're already very hard on yourself at work. You're already like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then to have any sort of personal life issue is just like your world is crumbling around you, because you're like, now I'm failing at both. Like, I'm not even doing this, I'm not even doing that. Like, what is happening? What are you doing with your life? It's like a very, very existential problem that you go through. And I don't think enough people talk about that, because everywhere that you, like on social media, everywhere you look, it's like, oh, you have to be like super at it. You have to wake up at 5 a.m. and like hustle.
Boss bitch, hustling, all of these tag words that have become very, very
synonymous with the hustling life. And look, and the thing is, you worry, you're like, am I criticizing the hustler's life? No, I'm not. Because listen, 80% of the time, I have to be the hustler.
Means we are all hustling only.
Exactly. But you're right about the fact that we have this idea. I think I like what you said earlier, that there's the expectation that you have to be succeeding at your personal and professional life all the time.
Yeah.
Like you are, and specifically in this age bracket where the societal expectation is for you to have a personal life. First of all, that in itself is like this huge thing of like, if you don't have a personal life, surely there must be something very wrong with you. You are broken and there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think the three of us actually relate on, and we chat about a lot. And I want to take this in a different direction, because, we have a group of girls, and Nan and I are usually on the more single spectrum of things, and have been for a while. And our dating lives have been the source of joy and humor and like just dumb f***ery for the rest of the group. Like we literally expose ourselves out there being like, here guys, have this tasty little tidbit of what has just happened to me on a date. And you and I, and even Tash actually in the middle, we've all gone through phases where we felt like, okay, online dating, putting yourself out there, like pushing yourself to sometimes make a good situation out of a bad date or give people the benefit of the doubt. I think we do this all the time. We're like, no, but we'll just give him, because we're all straight. That's why I'm saying him. We'll give this person one more chance. So actually, you know what? Don't write it off immediately. Like, you know, on online, how can you tell? Like, oh, you've been set up or something. Like, just try a little bit. These conversations, I think sometimes, of course, they come from a good place of friends talking to each other realistically, being like, look, being judgmental will serve no one. Having insane expectations will serve no one. And being bad to yourself will not serve anything. But there's also the other part where we're talking to ourselves, because I think at some point we have been so conditioned to be like, well, we got to make something work. You can't just have nothing in this, in like the column of personal and professional. How can this one just be failures? Like, how can it just be chokri? cross? How can it be like that? Because of this expectation that you have to be excelling at both to be seen as a functional adult. And there's a lot to say about being a woman in this situation, because that is, I think, the basis of all these.
That is
the fuck all expectations. Nobody expects a man to be professionally and personally sound. Like, as long as he's professionally doing well, it's like he's working. How can he settle down? So what am I? I'm not working.
I think also the expectation for a woman ends when they're married. Like that, the personal expectation ends once you're married. Like,
as if there's no further development personally for you.
No matter how good / bad / whatever, like how many other problems you might have in your marriage, it's all okay because
you're married. You did it.
It's fine. So then people only focus on your professional life. But here, when you're single, there's this big like expectation that, oh no, now you have to get married. Stop this career nonsense. Why are you focusing on your career when you have to focus only on getting married? Which is,
and even if no one says it outwardly like that anymore, they say it in different ways. It's microaggressions. It's all microaggressions. And those hurt, I think, even more. I would rather that auntie at the table just say, it's time you got married. Stop focusing so much. Because then I could be like, you know what? She said it. She's being fucking honest. It's the other conversations of like, so but now 30, it's like, you know, it's time to in the other direction. And, you know, I'll set you up, beta. He's working at it's a very nice family. They are well settled. So you will be okay. And it's like, what you're saying, like, hear the undertone, hear the message behind it. It's like, it's so demeaning and you get so angry and you're just sitting there boiling slowly with rage just coming up but yet you can't say anything. Then you won't say anything because you're just like, yeah, auntie, I'm fine. Actually, it's all good. Don't worry. Like and then you just like slowly retract yourself away to the bar and you're like, this is why I drink so much. It's because everyone sucks.
It's actually, I think with aunties, I've made my peace with that. I'm like, yeah, they are going to say this. It's worse when it comes from your generation. When people...
I know. Traitors. Traitor.
Like, why are you telling me this? Why? It's like, that first question, like, oh, are you seeing anyone? And then you say, no, I'm not currently. And it's that drop in the face. So it's like that pity, that amount of...
poor you.
Oh, poor you.
But to, you know, girls, I think for me, you both are really the my inspirations in this department, because I'm always just scared that I'm dying alone is one of my biggest fears. Not that that's going to happen, because worst case, y'all are there for me.
Nobody is dying alone.
Yeah, exactly.
But just to normalize this thing of, okay, fine, we're all almost 29, 30. We all have thriving careers. We all do seek love and companionship. But it's not the be all and end all of life. And to kind of, even within our circles, to break that conditioning, that thing of, nahi, ab to time aa gaya, you should be in a serious relationship, or you should be looking at something with a more commitment-based lens, or it is time to quote unquote settle down. And I don't think it's because settle in itself, you know, all these memes that came saying, don't settle. Then why the should we settle down?
our generation hasn't figured out how we want feminism yet. I still feel like there is a challenge, because even the most progressive of your friends, or the most forward thinking, or even the most conservative of your friends, wherever they are on that spectrum, no matter how much a conversation goes ahead, our conditioning draws us back. And even you're saying that Anand and I are like your little bit something that you look up to or forward to, whatever, however you said that. It's really nice to hear you say it.
Yeah.
No doubt. That makes me feel so good. On today, Monday, I'll be like, I'm so cool. But if you ask
feel
me,
empowered, by the way.
That's fine. But on the days, okay, 5 out of 7 days, 6 out of 7 days, both of us feel empowered for ourselves. I'm telling you, I'm speaking for you. Be like, no, we are empowered. We feel it. You don't constantly think it. But then you're also a human being with very natural needs, urges, human and emotions, where on the 7th day, when you sit down with yourself and you sit down with the voice in your head, you're like, I am, however, in a space in my life where I'm ready for partnership. However, this idea of what partnership has been so skewed and torn apart, and we've put it back together very sloppily, like, in the guise of, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm still grappling with it, where your expectations now also of a partner are very different.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel like maybe the other gender has not caught up in the same way yet, because it's only one side that has been like trying to empower itself, and these are all modern problems.
Yeah, that's so true.
There's nothing else to be said about it, but this is a generational problem. Our parents didn't deal with this because they were okay with the status quo and it worked for them. I'm not criticizing it. We are the generation of limbo. The ones after us will have it far easier, because they'll understand that the rules of engagement will have been set already. We are rewriting these rules of engagement. So whether it's professionally, personally, it's a landmine. You're walking on eggshells because you don't know what's going to set something off. I don't know what all my triggers are.
I think there's a new one every day to be
growing.
The list keeps growing.
Ayushi's list keeps growing. Everyone's does, actually. But
I've just started adding more people to my list, which is, I think, a good thing, because it's not emotional things that are triggering me. It's just people. So I can avoid that. I can just avoid you as a person because you trigger me. But yeah, Anand, just not that I ever want to wrap up this conversation.
No, I don't want to, by the way, because, okay. So we've had this whole conversation about partnership and entrepreneurship and feminism and doing your own thing, balancing things. I think we forgot to really touch upon one of the main key things about urban mom. That is working with your mom.
Yes.
It was very scary in the beginning, because I was like, how am I going to deal with this on a daily basis? Like, we've always been close, but we've never been in each other's faces, like, where, there's so much interaction that you're like, come on, like, I cannot see you anymore after like.
Also, you live together because you're living together, you're working together, and for the first year and a half, you guys were actively working out of the same home space.
Exactly. Yeah. So it started off being a little difficult. There were a few like bumpy, it was a bumpy road in the beginning, I think. But then we have now sort of figured out our space, and we actually respect each other because we've seen each other grow so much. Both of us, like, I have seen her grow so much and she has seen me grow so much. And we both bring a very, very different perspective on how to run this business. And she comes from a completely different mindset, and I come from a completely different mindset. And
what are those two mindsets, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what's a difference in perspective?
I believe that you shouldn't strive for perfection in everything. You should just, it's more about like execution and getting stuff done and moving on. It's more about like at least seeing if something works. Like if we have an idea, let's not try and perfect it, because there's no such thing as perfection.
I agree.
Let's just try and like get it out there, see if it's working. And if it's working, then we'll improve it. Her idea is that if you're doing something, do it well from the beginning, which is also great.
#mom.
Yeah.
Virgo mom also.
Yeah.
That's so true. And Anand and her mom are born on the same day. So their
We
star
share a
signs
lot
are
of things.
clashing.
Yeah, it's really
nuts.
like now it's a bit much. Now I'm like, our birthdays also we have to share. Everything we have to share. We have to share this company also.
But
No,
so
I
she's
think-
somebody who chases a different level of work, like perfection, all that stuff.
Also because I think for her, she's not like into the large part of the execution.
She's a
more into-
product. She's the actual product.
Yeah, exactly. So she obviously wants to perfect the product, whatever you're
Yeah.
putting out there. She obviously wants to perfect it. And for me, I get very irritated when when deadlines are not met in terms of, now I've told you to do this. Please, can you figure it out? And like, it's fine if it's not perfect. No, like, it's not going to be perfect because sometimes there are a lot of like bigger things to focus on and not like just that one small idea that we're working on. There are like 100 other things going on. And if you keep focusing, like hyper focusing on that one thing, you're not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
I think that's like a big clash for us in terms of mindset. But we also get that great balance because she will strive really hard to be perfect, like to get that perfection. And I will strive really hard to just execute.
So together it makes it really lovely.
So on your
I guess.
good
Yeah.
days, you guys are good. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it works out. So you have to just work towards having more good days than bad days.
Yeah, I think our bad days now.
All
like,
of us.
and my dad and my brother, when they see us talking to each other, because now we've obviously developed a very different relationship because we
yeah.
work together. So the way we talk to each other also is not like, it's not like I don't respect her. It's not like I'm disrespectful ever towards her, but there's the tone is different. Like it's
She's
not
a colleague also, now.
exactly. I
We're like
mean,
equals.
yeah, we're equals. And like, if you've done something wrong or whatever, if I've done something wrong, we will like not yell at each other, but we will try and like be firm with each other that no, look, this is not working out or this is not happening. And obviously it's really tough to like maintain that because you're so close as well, like your family. So you kind of get more irritated with your family and you can be a little less like
Polite.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you would be far more aggressive with a family member than an employee, I feel.
Of
Yeah,
I
like-
would.
course.
I have a lot less tolerance towards
Yeah.
her
Honeymoon shit.
than I have towards any other employee, obviously. So whenever like anyone else from my family sees our interaction, they're like, what are y'all doing? Like, how are y'all functioning? Like, how are y'all
Mm.
living in the same house if this is how y'all talk to each other? But we love each other also, obviously,
Too
as
much.
much.
Yeah.
Like,
That we know that. Yeah.
yeah. So
We're
like,
like besties.
exactly. And I think also our relationship has grown so much because we've also yelled so much. We've had so many fights. We've had like big meltdowns together. And then to like go back to that mother-daughter relationship is kind of nice also. Like, it brings out a different, I don't know what the word is, but
There's a different
just-
energy to that also. And that's very soft and maternal. And it's at your core, your safest space.
yeah.
So
exactly.
you can revert to that. I think I really like, I'm going to pick off a conversation that we had on Friday night where you talked about the difference in certain adults. Like some people are committed to growth and some
Yeah.
people are happy with what they've achieved and they like where they're at and they
Yeah.
want to focus on that. And some people are obsessed with constantly developing and constantly like, oh, if I'm not moving forward, I'm moving backwards.
Yeah.
And this is something that Tash and I have discussed as well. But you are somebody, I think, for the last couple of years, you've really committed to that idea. And I've seen it in you in the last few years. Is just that you really do, whether it was like a personal life setback, whether it's professionally, like, should I take this step or that step? You've made the effort to make the adult choice in all these situations.
That's why we've always called you the wise
one. We've called her the wise one since like 10
Like,
years now.
If a boy is messing around, Anand's like, cut him out. And she's like really like best at the kind of adult decisions.
Yeah, and making adult decisions. And that's something that I feel like so often I've seen you do it and I've tried to emulate it in my life, feeling no, the adult decision here is to do this. And yes, I think that's a key function of this 20s age where you're transitioning from what we call a baby adult to maybe a mid-sized adult to a real adult, is that oftentimes the decision doesn't come to you naturally, but that's okay. You can still stop yourself and correct course and be like, while instinctively I want to do this, my brain now knows that the right thing to do is this. So let's work towards doing that. And you've done that. So how does, when it comes to your business, when it comes to your mom and your partnership, do you find yourself like having to be that person of like, no, I have to also make the adult decisions. I can't just defer to my mom to make the adult decisions because she's the adult there. Like I'm asking, like there are times where your mother, what I'm picking off is like, look, you're a child. At the end of the day, you're someone's child, but you're working with the mom. So often I'm sure it must be like, I have to
like
make
you're looking for an adult to do the adulting.
You have to do that as well. And it's an equal partnership of both of you are making adult decisions and stuff like that. So how do you navigate that kind of thing of, no, I'm also the adult here. It's not just mom.
I think over the years, we've really kind of nailed this. We both have our departments that we are able to just make solo decisions in. Like, and I will obviously question her and she will obviously question me. But if I, at the end of the day, think that I'm right with that decision, I will be like, no, you are wrong. I am right. I am taking this decision now.
Okay.
And she'll say the same thing to me in her, like, whatever, with the product and with, I mean, wherever it is, like in her.
Whatever that person is doing that day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that has made it much easier. And I think that's super important to set certain boundaries.
Clear,
from the very beginning that this is what I'm good at. I have enough experience in this to be doing this. So you need to respect that. I am your child, but I do know how to do this. Yeah. So I do have the final word on this. As compared to,
But she has the same trump.
Boss Anand.
But she also has the same trump card over Nan. Like she also can be like.
Of course, she's the final authority on the butter.
Yeah.
And then you have to revert. How does it work when you have to revert back to like your house discussion of like, now it's dinner time. Who's the boss?
Gosh, she's always the boss there. Hey. She's always the boss there. I'm the helper walking around.
I love that you're like an elf.
Yeah, really. I'm
just. Tash had some like interesting questions though that we wanted to get to
just
as well.
Running the biz only. Actually, it's like I want to just wrap it up asking you about all the other kind of more administrative kind of stuff. Maintaining website, dealing with the finance aspect of it, quality assurance,
learning Excel.
Oh my God.
वो सारी चीजें कैसे क्या बताइए सुनाइए.
So I
some tidbits for other like entrepreneurs.
I did not know how to do anything when I first got into this. I did not know how to create a website. I did not know how to like maintain finances, maintain like stock and stuff like that. Obviously, we have had many issues in the beginning wherein like we've done like a major order and made a loss from it because we have not taken all the finances into account and like whatever. Anyway, I think the main thing that we've done now is streamlined finances. That is like the first thing that you need to kind of do. Like, I think that's the most important thing. You need to be on top of your accounts. You need to know your numbers. You need to get that sorted out immediately. And if you can't do it, then you have to hire someone to do it. Like I obviously have hired someone to do taxes, accounts, like all of that. So that is a huge help for me because obviously you can't do everything on your own. You need to outsource a lot of the stuff. What I did do on my own was I created the website because I didn't think that was something that was super important at that point that I needed to spend a lot of money on because it was just I do know how to work these systems and I do know how to create one. So I did it myself. A lot of other stuff that people now have, like, I think it's much easier to do this right now as compared to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because now there are so many courses, there are so many people running like training sessions for people to like start their own businesses. I actually did a 3-day workshop with someone who taught you how to just build your entire website, your how to start your bank account, and just like a very basic,
But it was good,
setup.
even though it was basic. It was very helpful.
Exactly, and it's so helpful for maybe not me, but for anyone else who's starting out a business. So obviously it's great because it's much easier to start it now as compared to years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot more people are also buying online, so it actually makes sense now to invest in a website to do all of that. Quality wise, I think that is definitely something that my mom looks after, because she is very strict about this. Like through the lockdown, we did have a few issues because we weren't getting the raw material that we were getting. And we've had some complaints, like from actually just one person. And it was like my mom has yelled at me because I was like, no, of course, let's just buy this, like whatever's available. And obviously it was like a grade lower than we normally buy. But that was the only thing that was available. So I was like, you'd rather just get it and test it out. And it was a disaster.
This is a classic problem that you just described earlier. That is,
oh my God, I have never been yelled at like this. And she was like, you let me make these decisions. Do not step on my authority. And it was nasty. But I have learned that she is the last word on this.
Yeah.
Sure. So quality check, and she has some very strict measures on that. And she's
amazing.
Also been the one who's trained the employees to now train the entire team to now do it themselves. So that's great. Like we've really come a long way from the beginning. So
no, for sure.
Top 3 tips to be a reliable entrepreneur brand business.
Top 3, definitely my first one would be just believe in yourself. That is like the number one thing. If you have a good idea, believe that you can do it before anything else, before even starting, before anything. Just believe in yourself, believe you can do it. Secondly, I think if you want to start your own business, if you want to start something that is a little new to you, just take into account where you are in your life currently. If you do have, it does come with a certain amount of privilege. If you can afford to, like maybe not earn a consistent salary for the first year or 2 years of your life of that company, then definitely go for it, because you're not going to get this time again later at like when you're 30 or 40. I mean, you will, but like
it's less likely.
Yeah, it's less likely. You'll have a lot of more like
responsibility at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. And my third tip would be just keep learning, keep reading, keep educating yourself, because that's the only way to do it. Not only in the field you're in, just in general. I think overall growth, because you never know how that sort of helps you in work and like personally and in many different aspects of your life, actually. So I think that is a great one to like keep in mind. Yeah, that's it.
Great.
Amazing. Thank you.
For all
thank you.
Any adulthood tips also you want to give?
Give us some adulthood tips.
No, just how to be adult.
Being an adult. Just take care of your finances, because this is a problem that I've had, and just maintain it. Be consistent with your finances and investments from this young age, because you will thank yourself.
Golden advice.
Golden advice. We all talk to each other about this anyway, about finances. I think every couple of months we're like, guys, so what are we investing in right now? What's the situation?
Because I can't wait for a rich hubby to be like, come baby, I'll take care of you.
No.
This also, if you were to say right now, I was like, sign me up.
I don't mind sometimes.
That's the thing. No, some days when you're really struggling and you look at the credit card bill, you're like,
hubby.
Why?
I don't deal with all this. My husband takes care of it.
And then if we ever hear someone say that, however, we trash talk them, because like, how could you do this? You're a traitor. You're a traitor to all women. But inside we're like, but if you're going to pay someone, the mine is there. If you want to pay it. But thank you, Ram, for coming on the show. This has been a great start.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. This was such a great start to the week.
Yes.
I love you both so much. And I just
Same.
want to take a moment to
Me
on air.
too.
Thank you both for being my amazing, incredible female friendship of everyone's dreams.
This is
Really.
literally
This
right back
is-
at you.
Yeah.
It's like a mutual appreciation club here of just how supportive I think it's a testament in the last year and a half how supportive we've been towards one another and just showing up. And I just want to tell young people, like boys, girls, everyone, just
be there for your friends.
be there
Yeah.
for your friends. It is the best investment you will make after investing in your family.
Money.
So that as well. But I knew, because we always talk about how we should never have ego with our family, right? Because when you walk into your house, put your ego down and
Yeah.
choose
Same
love,
with
choose
friends,
support,
though,
choose
because,
that thing. But
yeah.
friends have a different aspect because they're the ones literally, and now we all carry little boxes every day when our friends exist in them.
Yeah.
And that is so precious to me. Those 2-3 girl chats that I have, they make my day. They make every dark cloud seem more manageable. And I don't know what I would do without my girlfriends. I really don't know what I would do without them. So I can't
for sure.
say
Same.
enough how much you need to have a group of people in your life that are just like team you.
Even 2 people is enough. Even 1 person is enough. But yeah, find that.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that every adult should have. Every young adult should have.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Anand, can you
I-
tell us where we can find? No, yeah, that's fine. I regularly am emotional. My hormones are out of whack.
Oh, that's okay. Everyone's used
Yeah.
to the crying is like very natural and normal. It's no problem.
So tell us, Ananyu, where can our public find you on social media?
On Instagram, we're Urban Mom India. So you can find us there. But our website is urbanmom.co.in. And you can find all of our products there. And you can read about our
Amazing.
story and you can see my
Yes.
mom and me and all
Yeah.
of that.
It's super cute and super wholesome, and
Yeah.
cannot talk about how good the product is. I mean, it's in all of our houses. We have this might seem just like a friendship plug. It's not. It's really
It's not.
good.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have to check it out. So check her out at Urban Mom India. You can find Tash and I, as you know, on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find all these podcasts and other episodes on ivmpodcast.com, at IVM Podcast, wherever you want to get them. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. It was great for us. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to Anand. But if you have any questions or comments for us, we would
Write to
love
us.
to hear from you and what you would like us to talk about, or whether you enjoyed this. We are available at aglastationadulthood@gmail.com. And
We
reply
await
to
your mails. I
every
will
email.
reply with a lot of love and care after chatting with me, of course.
Yes, of
But
course.
she
It's a
types them.
collaborative. But I
Yes.
just have so much love to give these days. It's
She does.
incredible.
Thank you,
All right.
listeners. As always, we are so grateful to have you and the show and the community we've built over the last 2 years.
Yes. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, evening, whenever you listen to this.
Next time, milte. Bye.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh, and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.
Season 3 of Echoes of India, your favorite history podcast, is back on the IVM Podcast Network. I'm your host, Anirudh Kanasetti. Join me on a journey through the wonders of early India as we explore the centuries between Buddha and Ashoka with critical research, empathy, and great storytelling. Along the way, you'll hear from all the vibrant peoples who shaped our world, from monks and farmers to warriors and emperors. New episodes are out every Monday.